Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Writing Visual Studio Extensions with Mats. That's me. And as usual, we got the producer, James, with us. Hello, James. How are you doing?
Hey, how's it going? I am totally awake this week. I am so excited for everything that's about to happen. Mads, oh my goodness. Look at this. I can press all these buttons and do all these things.
Mm-hmm.
I drank a coffee. That's what happened. I was live streaming. I drank a nitro cold brew, which is the equivalent of 2 cups of coffee in 7 ounces. So it was like compressed.
Okay. How much is in a cup like this?
I would say that one is 12 ounces.
12 ounces. Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I would say a normal cup of coffee is probably 8 ounces. I think they measure it. I think if I was to go by that. So it's equivalent of 1.5 of those, but all in a very compressed amount of time. It was very cold and very nitro-y, and it was delicious.
You would not like my coffee. I've switched to just decaf only because I drink like 6 to 8 cups of coffee a day. So I was like, okay, let me do the whole decaf thing.
Do you only drink decaf the entire day, or?
Yes.
Oh, so okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's just keep it simple, Then I don't have to have 2 different setups and 2 different ground coffees in the cupboard, and yeah.
So you're drinking for taste, then, is what I'm hearing.
No, I drink for quantity, and I drink for the warmth in the morning. It's nice.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And low calories. It's a low cal.
It's low calorie. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
0 calories.
In fact, yes, indeed. Well, cool. Well,
so I'm going to switch over here so I can see what good people are commenting on here. So I'm really excited for today. Today is an episode that have been requested quite a bit. Actually over the years before the show even started. And it was about how do you add support for new languages in Visual Studio? And there are several ways of doing that. So you might have listened in on the Visual Studio office hours last episode with Christian Gunderman, where we talked about the editor in Visual Studio and how it works and what are the 3 tiers of language support. And so we're going to talk about the lowest tier. That is the one that is the easiest to do, but also the one with the most limited capabilities. But oftentimes it's enough for what we want to do. Then there's a tier above that, which opens up for a lot more and some reuse. And then there's the full tier where you really do very specific Visual Studio APIs. But we're going to talk about the low tier, and that is TextMate bundles. And James, let's take a look at my screen here, because I have here a file. It's a .jl file. Does anyone know in the chat there? What is a .jl file? What language is that? Does anyone recognize this language? Let's see. What about you, James? Can you see what it is?
A JL file, a James loves you file. You put a U at the end of it, I guess.
No one is guessing. It is a programming language called Julia.
Oh, I have heard of that, but I haven't used it. It's a data science?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. To be fair, I have never used it. I don't know what to use it for, but it works great for today's demo. So this is a Julia file, and so with any new language, you want at bare minimum you want it to be colorized, right? You want syntax highlighting, and so that's exactly what TextMate is good for. So let's see if we can add some syntax highlighting to Julia files super easily. I'm going to go to my favorite browser and search for Julia. And here, TextMate grammar or bundle, maybe just TextMate. And let's go. We can see different things. And here I have a GitHub address for, here it says TM bundle. TM is TextMate. So let's just click that and see what we've got. And here's how you know whether or not this is something that we can use in Visual Studio. It has a folder called syntaxes. And if it had snippets, that's pretty cool too. That means we can use some of the snippets as well. But syntaxes is the important part. So let's dive into that. And see here we got a .tm language file, which is basically just a XML file. And here, the language is defined in like regular expressions to figure out what are keywords, what are comments, and so on, and then colorize it appropriately. So it's just a single file. And so let's start with the simplest way possible to add support for Julia. I'm just going to download this repository as a zip file. And that gives us syntaxes and snippets, okay? So now I'm going to do something. And James, you got a banner that you can use for user profile. So if you go to sent user profile, you end up sort of on your user profile. And in here, you need a folder called .vs. There's one for .vs Code if you have VS Code installed, but there's not one for .vs. So let's create a new folder called .vs. And then we're going to go into that one and create a new folder called extensions. And then we spell it right too, like that. And now what's interesting about this particular folder is that it's called extensions. But why? We're not going to do extensions. That's not what we're doing right now. We're adding a language called Julia, and I'm going to do that by adding a folder inside my extensions called Julia. And then I'm going to go to what I just downloaded, take my syntax and snippets folder and paste them right in here. And it says, oh, there's something wrong with some of the snippets files. Okay, just skip those. So there's snippets. We have a bunch of TM snippets files. These are also just XML, as you can see here. And then syntaxes. Yeah, we looked at that one already. So now I'm going to close this file and open it again. I might have to restart Visual Studio. We'll see. Okay, I'll probably have to restart. So what? What is that about? Did I do something wrong? Did I misspell something? .vs extensions, Julia, and then syntaxes. Oh, hang on. I saw something weird the other day. That if I just opened this and saved it in Visual Studio, then it kind of worked. It was kind of weird. Still not. I did. Maybe it's because I copied it from the interwebs. So, of course, I did cheat and prepare. So let's try this again. Let's get rid of the snippets here. Maybe there's something. Okay, restart VS.
Does the capitalization of extensions matter? I noticed in the VS Code there's lowercase e.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Okay, just making sure.
Okay. Oh, hang on. Oh, this is a .jl file. Let's just take a look here. Is it JL? It's a JL file. Okay. Well, that's kind of weird. So this should just have worked, and I'm kind of very perplexed as to why it doesn't, because it worked when I did this an hour ago. So we're going to do something else. We're going to jump straight into how we ship this as an extension, because, as I said, this method is only if you want to do locally on your own system, right? You can go in here. And actually, if we go in and look at Microsoft Visual Studio, the installer, and if we go into, I have a preview here, Common 7. This is the install directory. IDE, Common Extensions, Microsoft, and there's one called TextMate. Starter Kit, Extensions. Look at this. Visual Studio ships with 41 TextMate bundles installed. And the reason for that is, I believe this is the reason why. Back in Visual Studio 2017, we had this brand new installer where you could say you only want C++ or only want .NET workloads installed, but you still want to be able to get like basic syntax highlighting, if nothing else, for the components that you haven't installed yet. So that's why we have stuff here like HTML, C# is in here, because if you don't have those components installed in Visual Studio, you're still going to get an okay experience. So 41. So we're going to go in. Before we do that, I'm going to go into my extensions and make sure I have a TextMate grammar template installed. Okay, that's the name of the extension. So have that one, because that allows us to do that. We can come into the new project dialog and search for TextMate and create a new file, and we're going to call this Julia language, and just create that. So this one is very similar. We have snippets, syntaxes, and themes. Okay, so themes is another aspect of TextMate bundles that Visual Studio know what to do with. And so these are the three concepts. So TextMate bundles have other concepts such as preferences and commands, but Visual Studio do not support those. If you add them, that's fine. Nothing bad will happen. And so in this, so here it's called a .plist, which is another acceptable file extension, but it's just still the exact same format. It's XML. So I'm going to grab my Julia TM language, put that in there. And let's just see here. We need to make sure that it's content and included in the product. So content and included in V6. There we go. Then I can just delete this like that. So now I have Julia. File type's JL, so it's supposed to hook into JL, right? .jl files. And this is actually an extension project. This is a V6 project. So let's just take a look. If we open up and check out, let me build this. I don't know why I rebuild. I do that all the time. So here, 23 kilobytes. What's inside of it? We have our icon, which is part of this. We're going to replace that at some point. Then we have our syntaxes, right? So that's our, and we don't have the empty folder for snippets and themes because empty folders are not copied in. And that's about it. That's about it. We actually have a DLL file, even though we don't need it. So what I could do, we're going to need it later, but what I could do is that I could go in here and hit F4 on my project and say, where is it? Include assembly in V6 container and set that to false. Then that DLL file would not have gotten in there. But I kind of need that later, so let's just not do that. Okay. So now, let's go in here. Let's just change some of these properties here. Julia, that's fine. So adding basic language support for Julia. All right. And author, let's just write that up. That, okay. So Jorge, no, what got it? Is it VS Code that prefers the TM lang in JSON instead of XML? Yeah, so far what I've seen is the VS Code. Most of the TextMate bundles there are based on JSON. That works in VS as well. So Visual Studio will take both XML or JSON, but it doesn't take everything. It's not everything that works, right? So you have to try. You can't just take any TextMate file and it will just magically work. So there's that. I'm missing a manifest. No, I don't think I am. My manifest is right here. My VS manifest. But I need to register my syntaxes, and I do that in this grammar.packageDef. Package def. So package definition. So here's what we get. Let me just highlight the first area here. That's a little too much. There we go. So first, it's going to register the package, okay? We don't have to do anything here. Registering the package. Okay, so there's not really a package file. There's not really a Visual Studio async package. So instead, it just writes that package registration right here, and it does so for binding paths, which right now we actually don't need, but we need it later. Then it registers the TextMate grammar. So look at this. In the registry, under the Visual Studio node, there's now a TextMate thing and repositories, and we're going to point that to our syntax folder. Okay, so these have to match syntaxes. And then we need to, what's it, Julia, JL, right? So JL file, this is file associations. We're not going to put a some sort of icon for that. And what could that be? I'm pretty sure we don't ship with Julia in Visual Studio already. So we could do, what would be a good, I think Node has like all these different, let's just do something completely, here. Let's copy that name. There we go. Okay. So I should be able to build this. Control F5. What is the manifest for? This manifest, this is the Visual Studio extension manifest. So I'm building a Visual Studio extension now so I can share and ship my Julia language support. So here we are in the experimental instance, and let's open a project. Let's see here. And in this project, oh, this is says JLO, not JL. What's that about? Oh, see, we now have the icon. Can you see that, everybody? That was that icon I gave it. So at least that works. And oh, we don't actually have any content. So let's go back and get some content. Let's open this. Oh, now I got this. Okay, so it just took a little while for that to work. So that's actually interesting. So now this is the extension powering this. You can see how that works. I now got my TextMate bundle. Okay.
Is the TextMate, okay, so a little producer behind the scenes action over here. Mm-hmm. So is the TextMate actually just showing like the syntax highlighting? It's not adding like Roslyn, right? It knows how to like do recommendations and telesense and things like that. It's not doing that, is it?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
because it is. Check this out. I'm going to just close down the experimental instance. Do you want to save the changes? Yes, do that. So now I'm back. So, okay, so what happened? So let me just rewind a little bit. So when we added the Julia language to our user profile.vs extensions in here, and it didn't work, right? So apparently it just takes like a moment. If I had waited a little bit to open the Julia file, it would have kicked in. So probably because the TextMate support in Visual Studio initializes after Visual Studio has started up with some sort of delay, maybe. I'm guessing here. So what do we get from a TextMate language? And I should have started with this, but it didn't work, so I couldn't have done it. But what you get is code folding. Check this out. See? Based on indentation. So that's kind of nice. You also get this. You get IntelliSense. No, you don't get IntelliSense. You get auto-completion. So this is based on all the symbols that are in this document. So that's kind of nice, right? You get like, this is just basic functionality. What can be learned by Visual Studio from like indentation, for instance. It's not that it understands Julia from an indentation perspective. You know, some languages has indentation as part of the core paradigm, and but that's not described, let's say, in TextMate as such. TextMate just describes what it looks like. So, like literally what it looks like. So what it looks for certain regular expressions, and it then can do stuff. I don't know this syntax. I've never been able to write a TextMate file myself. I'm kind of curious. I need to go and do that. But yeah, but I've never done that. But I've been able to take existing ones and massage them into something that works. An example of that is this particular file right here. This is a package def file. And I actually have an extension that I wrote that does exactly what we're doing today, and that it bundles up a TextMate grammar file. And I think I used the one for ini file, ini, and just massaged it a little bit so that it also works with package def files. They're very similar. Okay. So we had a few other things. Let's see here. So we had snippets. I'm going to take all these snippets. I'm going to paste that into my extension. That didn't work, so let's just do that again. Why did that not work? That's bizarre to me. Oh, it's because I'm in a zip file, and that is the thing with Visual Studio. I can't copy from a zip file. Oh, I got it right here, though. Snippets. Here we go. There we go. And all of these snippets we have to set to content and include in v6 true. There we go. So an interesting thing. Notice how we only register syntaxes, like that folder. And what's interesting is that the snippet file, or all the snippets files, automatically just comes along because they live next to each other. So I can come in and do something like, let's see here. Does it not have, this one actually doesn't have the snippets. Let's see if that worked. Where is, are the snippets not in? Oh, what am I doing? Opening our v6 just to take a peek. We do have snippets, and oh, so maybe there's some file name thing going on there. All right. So let's fix that up. I don't know if that's the case. Let's just get the, oh, use underscore. Okay, let's use underscore. And that's the thing I've noticed, actually. If we look at the file names here, some of them are, capital letter, some are lowercase, some of them are underscore, some of them are mixed case, like camel hump or whatnot. It's kind of weird. I found that to be the case with a lot of TextMate bundles. I don't know if it's because open source people contribute to them over time, and eventually maybe the maintainer doesn't care about those sort of details, and you end up with that. I'm guessing. I don't know. So let's do a rebuild. Run this again, and then we're going to look at the icon too. Yeah, a lot lighter than an extension. Yeah, exactly. It's super smooth. Okay. So we got Julia. You see, we still have that sort of dummy icon. Oh, the snippets do not show up. Kind of annoying. Okay. Well, maybe it's just it needs to think about it for a moment. Okay, so let's look at that icon. And how are we gonna fix that to the Julia icon? Now I have, as usual, cheated and gotten us the icons because we don't want to be using this here, that round thing, that one, right? We want to be using a custom one. So I am gonna take, where is that? Not that one. In here, yep. And I have made a folder called icons. And this is kind of a cool little trick because this applies to all extensions. Okay, so this is not just TextMate. This is all extensions. You can use this. So let's just take a look at what I've got. I've got a icon. It's the same icon in 3 different resolutions. And why is that? Well, it's because, right now I'm running in with DPI scaling. I think I have 135%, which if you have a Surface laptop, that's the perfect DPI scaling, 135. That was a hot tip of the day. And but some people, if you have a larger display, when I had the Surface Book, I ran with a 200% scaling. And these icons here are 16 by 16. Okay, so if you run 100% scaling, 16 by 16 is used. If you run twice that, it's 32 and then 64. So maybe what I should have done instead of 64, because who runs larger than 200? Well, I say that now, but I'm sure people do. But it might have been good to have like a 24 version of the 24 in here. So I'm now going to bundle these up into something called an image manifest. And that's an XML file. And it deals with GUIDs and IDs, and we can then kind of use them within our package def file here. So what I'm going to do, just to make sure that I have this extension installed, I have one called, and where could it be? Image Manifest Tools. Okay. So if you have the extensibility essentials, you already have this. But if you don't, just make sure you have this Image Manifest Tools, because that allows me to right click that folder called icons and say generate image manifest. And it put in an image manifest file, and it looks like this, just XML. So basically it says, here's the GUID for this manifest. There is one image in it. It's called Julia, and its ID is 0. Okay, so here we have the source files, and they just all point to this Julia ID defined up there. And you can see Visual Studio was able to figure out, or this extension was able to figure out the size of these and do the right thing. So in order for me to use this icon, I just copy this, go to our package that, paste that in, and then I'm going to reference ID 0. So after the GUID, I do :0, just like that. Okay. Now, JL files are associated with this icon. And that tool, what it did was it made sure, check this out, that these PNG files are resources. The build action here are resources. And what does that do? Well, that means that they're added into the DLL file that is compiled. So if I rebuild this and we go in here, you see this is now larger, 38 kilobytes. And because in here, in that DLL in here, we now have those byte arrays basically from those images are now inside there, and that is why we wanted that DLL file in the v6 so that we could get the icon. Which is, I mean, you can't have a language support without also having an icon with that works with it. Let's see here. Do they have to have the size in the name for the generator to work? Yes. So, well, let's talk about that. So, if you don't have a size in there, if it just said julia.png, that would work. But then we would only have one single image, right? You wouldn't have for different screen resolutions, and so, or DPI rather. And so if that was me, if I just had one, I would probably go with a 32 by 32. That's sort of a good in between. And it scales pretty reasonably back down to 16 by 16. So if you only have one file, call it julia.png and make it 32 by 32. I think that's what I would do. In fact, that is what I've done in some of my other extensions. If you want like this to have multiple, then you have to follow this particular naming convention. Name dot width dot height. Okay. You can't do what I did was like name with X height. That doesn't work. It has to specifically be with these dots the way they are like here. I hope that answers it. All right, so let's open our project. And would you look at this? Ooh, check that out. And look how they're like crisp in the same way. Right now I'm zooming in with some Windows magic here. But that icon is crisp the same way that, let's say, C# is, or that folder icon right there. So that's really nice. And I run a custom, as I said, 135% DPI, which is kind of custom. So it just finds the one automatically that's closest. All right. And before our extension is fully done, of course, we have to give it an icon. And this is the official, I already got the logo here, and I made it into the right size, 90 by 90. I'm going to put that in our resources file right here. Get rid of the old one. And we can go into our v6 manifest and say icon. Like that. And what should we give Julia and TextMate? The tags we give it. And we may have to take that icon and say content include in v6 true. There we go. So everybody, we're now ready, I'd say, to ship this extension. Or if nothing else, check it in. So let me just get some stuff from, and then I got right here. What do I want to do? License. Let's get some stuff here. And I'm just going to put that in here. Okay, let's put that in here. And then all I want to do is to add that to my solution folder. So I'm going to add my app there and my README. And then the inside resource, I want that license file. So I'm going to add existing item. Now where did that go? All files, license, and I want to add that as a link. Okay, so add that as a link, and I want to make sure that that is content and included in the v6. So now I can go in here and to license, I can say resources, if I can spell it. License. There it is. Okay, and so my app there, that's my build script. Does that look right? It says do token replacement. We don't really have any of that. So just gonna take that out. Okay, so and then README. What should we call this? This is called Julia language, right? And we're gonna give it, or it already has an ID right here. And so in my README, I'm gonna say, what is the download? That's gonna be this ID. And when we upload it to the marketplace, it's gonna be Julia language. I mean, just because that's what I would call it. And then we can just say, coming soon, right? Description coming soon. Okay. So now we're ready. I'm going to take this and I'm going to create a Git repository. Let's throw it up on the GitHubs. Julia language, that's all good. It's not a private one. Okay, create and push. And save. So if we go in here, go to my GitHub page under repositories, we have Julia language. How cool is that? So that's kind of wonderful. And so if you want to play around with it, you know where to get it. All right. So someone says here, can I recommend brackets for beginners? Brackets, you mean the editor? This is beginners of what? Like if you want to write a Visual Studio extension, then you have to use Visual Studio. So for that, definitely not. But other than that, I think it's a fine editor. Yeah. But I think VS Code is better. So there is that. Okay. So I can't show how I do my CI hookup. Should I do that? CI. So I'm going to go to add there, sign into GitHub's. This is the thing, James. I need to like convert this to GitHub Actions, but I haven't.
That would be neat just to see it all, because then you can create a template directory in GitHub, and you could just be like, and template it, and then boom, people can just immediately be productive.
Exactly. There's some
even yourself.
Yeah, but the only thing about it is that I wanted says that it uploads to the V6 gallery automatically, and if someone clones it, then it will automatically just and makes a commit to their own fork of it. Sorry, if they clone it, if they fork it. I don't want their version to be uploaded to the V6 gallery, right? Under the same ID, because at that point it probably has the same ID. So that's not good. So I just need to figure out how that works, because, ultimately it would be really nice if we could have as part of just the project template, when you say, I want to create a new extension, that it already hooks you up to GitHub Actions and everything, or at least it makes it super easy to get the CI build, and it automatically publishes to the V6 gallery.
Yeah, it's like, how does because you obviously have to have a secret to upload to the physics gallery, right?
No.
Oh.
So
oh, it's not like NuGet or like anything else?
Exactly.
Okay, great.
So the V6 gallery is, okay, you see how long that took? It's because I'm a member of the Microsoft documentation organization, and that is like 5,000 gallery. Okay, Julia language. Here we go. So I'm going to add that. That was the one we just created. So that's the repo. And so I can go into settings. I'm going to go to badge. I'm going to hit F7. Yeah, don't just turn it on. F7 in Internet Explorer makes it such that it's super easy. I use my keyboard now. I can just select, I can shift end, just go to the end of that line, and I can just copy that. Then I hit F7 again to turn it off. So it makes it like easier for me to deal with. And then I can go in here, paste that in right there. And then I want to commit the changes. So what did we do? We added the build badge. But I want to do this because when I do that, I'm going to kick off a build, because now I'm basically modifying my repo, and my CI/CD is kicking in automatically. Here it comes. Here it comes. It saw it was added, and sometimes it takes a moment for it to kick in. But once it does that, on the V6 gallery, which is not, this is not the default. This is not the Visual Studio Marketplace, right? This is just a sort of third-party gallery. It will automatically be uploaded here. So James, that's what I mean, right? I don't want anyone to just upload their version to my stuff.
Got it.
Okay. So everybody on the stream here, I don't know if you noticed what we just did. Like in 45 minutes with me stumbling through, we took an existing language and put it into a Visual Studio extension that we then gave an icon, and we set up a CI/CD pipeline. In what was the, 45 minutes minus the other stuff, like in 30 minutes, right? Oh, so now it's going here in my CI/CD. Okay, so now it's publishing to the V6 gallery. Let's take a look. I'm going to refresh. Boom. Oh, provide a clear description. Yeah, so that's the thing, right? My description is too short. I should say something more. So anyway, here it is. Here's the README. Description coming soon. Should I upload this to Marketplace? No, I won't. So anyway, that was a full language implementation of the lowest tier. So one thing actually I forgot that I should show you is that I have, I'm going to just see if I can show you here. Let's see here. If I open Julia, I don't know. Okay, here. So let's take a look. The content type for TextMate is code ++ dot, and then the name of the language, Julia. Okay. Code ++ dot Julia. So that's how you can then add features on top of it. So you can now, from your various MEF exports, if you have a text view creation listener, if you have custom intelligence, whatever you have, you can now hook into that content type. And so you can expand whatever it is that you need to expand here. So that's a really nice way. If there is an official TextMate bundle for a language, for instance, then that is the authoritative truth, then you might as well use it. And then you add your additional features on top of it. How to notify updates to users of extensions? Well, it happens automatically. So in Visual Studio, there are some extensions like this one that are not auto-updated daily or once the new extension becomes available. But most other extensions, like the one we just created, will be updated as soon as you upload it to the marketplace, the new version. And you can see here, let me show you the difference between the two. Here, this little setting right here. So notice how this is not set. So this v6 is installed for all users. That's unchecked. So it's not installed for all users. It's what's called a per user extension. And by default, all extensions are per user extensions. You have to actively click that checkbox to make it a per machine extension or all user extensions. So when it is a per user extension, it gets installed into the user directory. Like it's literally all the things in your v6 file is located in, I think, local app data. So somewhere under your username, under your profile. And that means that whenever a new version comes in, Visual Studio can just say, oh, there's a new version. Let me just put that into the user directory so that the next time they start Visual Studio, they're going to get the new one. Okay, the new version. So that happens all the time. It happens kind of immediately. And so all it requires is that the user just restarts Visual Studio.
Yeah, I literally commented to you the other day that what was I doing? I was pasting and copying. I was working on a Microsoft Learn module, and I was copying and pasting from one tutorial to the other, and I got the feature that you were working on the stream in my VS because I have tweaks installed, and tweaks automatically updates when you push a new one out. So literally, I got this huge. I was copying a huge amount of Markdown over, and it totally worked. And I didn't even update anything. I was looking through my extensions today, and almost all of my installed extensions update automatically. I think that only one that doesn't is Camel Styler, maybe. I think that's the only one.
They kind of all do. They kind of all do. So let's talk about the other case where it's a per machine or all user extension. Like this is checked. We call them per user and per machine extensions. A per machine extension requires elevation. Okay, that means because it's not installing into your local app data folder under your profile, it's installing it into the Visual Studio installation directory itself. Okay. And that, writing into program files require elevation. You can't just do it without it. So Visual Studio cannot do it in the background. But every night or whenever it is, there's a service running that is running as an admin or whatever, or with elevated privileges or something like that. That will, if Visual Studio is not running, will install any updates to the per machine ones. So typically, it doesn't happen that often, but most people will get, like within a week or two, will get the update. So the updates are still coming through, but in the meantime, they show up here, right? In the dialog here under updates, they will show up here. Like, oh, there's an update to this one. And you could have that for a long time. But eventually you will get it. You'll get the update without doing anything. But it just takes a little longer. Sometimes it takes, like, it's the same day, right? Depending on if you close down Visual Studio and it's, you leave your computer open at the night time or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but it's something like that. And of course, you can always take any of these extensions and just say, no, do not automatically update this extension. And then now it won't. And you can do that for extension to extension. Okay. Do we have other questions? How can I make my extension install under a named folder instead of a random string? I've seen extensions with their company folder and then the extension name. So that's what happens if it's a per machine extension. That will have your name on it. It will not be a random. Let's see if we can find one of those random ones. So if I go to, I think it's local app data, Microsoft, Visual Studio 16. No. There we go. So somewhere in here, where could it be? Extensions. So this is what Jan was talking about. So why does it have like these weird names? Right? This is like a randomly generated string. So this is so that you don't have any conflicts, right? So that when the auto update happens, it will put in a new folder here and put your stuff in it. And the next time Visual Studio starts up, it looks in the registry where there's some information saying, hey, remove that old folder and use this new one instead. And Visual Studio then does that. And so it can do that very safely without any naming conflicts of the folders. But if you go look if you have a per machine extension in the Visual Studio install directory, that will not have this name. It will have because Visual Studio has to be closed while it does it. So there will be no conflicts. And so, I think some companies that might do it otherwise, they will have their own MSI installer. You can still have an MSI that lays down your V6 in the right places. And at that point, you're in control of it. And you can just put a folder in here with whatever name you want it and have it do the thing that you need. And so there are ways around it, but it's just not default because we want to make sure that we don't have any conflicts. I hope that answers it, John. Yeah, it happens in the experimental instance, but not when you install it in VS itself. That's right. That's right. All right. Is this also something that can be called magic? I don't know.
Because it automatically updates. It's magic.
Automatically? I used to like that word. Now I'm not sure. Automatically. I think I've used it too much. I don't know.
There's a good one. If the update is broken, can you roll back or patch an update?
No.
Uh-oh.
It's been very high on people's wish list, especially extenders. And but we haven't gotten around to it yet. So the use case is if you release an extension, you find, oh, there was a bug in it, or one of your users find out there's a bug in it. That user can't just roll it back to a previous version. That's impossible. All they can do is uninstall or disable, and then just wait for a new update to come from the author of the extension. That's unfortunate. We actually have plans on how to do it. There's a couple of different ways, and both of them would be doable. Yeah. So if your update broke something, you cannot roll down, but you can update. You can just release a new patch, a new version.
Yeah, you could go back to your previous commit, bump the version number, push that out.
Yes.
Done. Yeah.
Yep. That if you don't know how to fix the bug, yeah, exactly. That's right. I'm reading the comments here. That's why I'm looking down. All right. Well, if there's no more comments, What do you think, James? Should we call it?
What's Nick saying here? I have a solution. Trying to parse what Nick is saying here about his solution, maybe for rolling back. Named instances.
Oh.
I don't know. That makes a copy of the name. The random file name is very similar to how you install apps on, if you install apps from the store, right? From the Microsoft store on your Windows machine. And I assume everything else, it kind of just randomly gives it a GUID,
right?
Randomly, because it just wants to make sure that everything is good to go.
Yep.
Can you show us how to convert your image manifest to custom monikers?
No, I don't know what you mean, Jan. How I created the image manifest?
Maybe.
Is that what you mean? I just right-clicked and said, generate image manifest. That's literally all you have to do with this extension install called image manifest generator. So once the image manifest is here, let's do F4 on it. It's content included in the v6 by default. So it gets up in the v6. How to convert your image manifest to custom monikers. If we look at the grammar file here, this is the syntax. You can use this in your VSCT file too, Jan, if you need to. If you go find, so if we search for image service Visual Studio, there, the image service and catalog, you can see how to do this. It actually shows how to do known monikers, yada yada. It'll show you how can you use it in a tool window, and how would you use it in here, for instance. Here, VSCT, that was it. So you have to register it probably, and then you have to use it. Icon is moniker, something like that. So where it today takes your known moniker, it will take your GUID :ID. Okay. Custom monikers like known monikers. Well, you won't get a collection of them. You have to use them like this. You have to register the ID and the GUID, and you have to like include that image. That it's all in here, but you have to include the image monikers, I believe, in your VSCT file like this, and then you can use it as your icons. But it is, yeah, okay. So it's all in here. The time zone here is Pacific time. Pacific time. So that is GMT +8. Is that right, James?
Also, you can go to live.net. We just fixed it. We had a misconfiguration. Go there, check that out. Boom. And you can scroll down on this page. If you keep scrolling, and that'll be your time in your time zone. Working on calendar invites too. So you'll be able to be like, boom, put the calendar invite in there. An RSS feed, a whole bunch of good stuff. But yeah, that's your local time.
Wow.
Right in the browser.
Well, you saw it here first, people. New live.net. I see it redirects you to .net.microsoft.com/live.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you just keep that other URL?
I don't know. I think because then it's front door, Azure front door.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's beyond me, my powers.
Right. Cool. It would be nice to see me go through that step. Okay. So just to Jan's comment here, and Jan, I assume for me to show how to use it in the VSCT file so you can give your commands the right icons and such. I can totally do that. That's a really good idea.
Loka here, who was talking about publishing VisX to GitHub releases. Yep. One thing you're talking about your GitHub actions earlier. What would be fascinating maybe to see is instead of doing like the default template that packages it and publishes it to VisX gallery, maybe there's like some one of yours that does it, like some other way of doing that. But like the default could just be to publish to the GitHub releases automatically, right? And then
on every build, I think if you're on a tag.
Yeah,
you know what I've been doing in the past? I I've been doing it for when I do NuGet packages, is that if my commit message has the word release in square brackets on the second line, it releases it to NuGet. And so that's kind of cool.
We do in Xamarin Essentials, we do a tag. So like I think somehow, I don't know how John Dick does it, but he like does something where they do some, I don't know what they do. They tag it and then it magically takes something and does something and sends it somewhere. I don't know. I don't know how anything works.
Basically. I don't even know how tagging works in Git. I don't know anything about Git, to be honest. I really don't.
I just use it and it's in here and I say commit all.
Yes, I've used it for years and years, and I don't know much about it. I don't have to. I know enough. Some people are really good at it. That's not me.
That's true. Yeah.
But I've never come to a situation where I can't just Google it and find the answer and do the command line thing, and it's all good. So, and then my brain resists actually memorizing what I just did, and so I will Google the exact same thing next time. That's just how it is. All right, everybody. I think it is time to start the weekend. And I'm looking forward to that. It's my birthday weekend.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Was it already your birthday or is it just, does your birthday land on the weekend?
No, it was actually my birthday Wednesday.
Oh my goodness.
I got a guitar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Do
you know how to play guitar or you just got a guitar?
No, I have some other ones hanging. I have another one hanging. And so I got this one and I'm going to put that on the wall. I know how to play a little bit. I'm not very good.
What we need
improve
is intro and outro music by Mads by guitar. Look at this. Had lots of birthday wishes coming in. Oh my goodness.
That's it. That would be a good challenge.
I love it.
Yeah. So
you could pre-record a video and then we could upload it and you could have like people would think it's live, but it's not live. People are asking for a guitar solo right now.
Oh no. I don't, as I said, I'm not very good. I can play a Danish song about a whale. I saw there was someone from Denmark that said, "Hey, from Denmark."
Because you see, like Alex says, you can combine it with your new pipe.
Oh my gosh!
I'm just saying.
I can sing like this. I think. You could. Well, I shouldn't sing. It should just be instrumental.
Lots of birthday wishes. Oh my goodness! Happy birthday, buddy!
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Cool. Well, everyone can write in and sweet future topics as well. How many topics do we have in there?
We have one for next week. Next week we have how to write a tool window. And but that's it. Then the calendar is open after that. Then we can do whatever we want.
There are 12 suggestions that people have submitted into our planner.
We've done some of them. Some of the ones that are submitted are a little hard to do in a short amount of time. One of them was how to create a language service, which is what we've done kind of, but maybe not to the spirit of that question, because we did a TextMate bundle, not a full-blown language service. But that's something that I would have to do in a series of shows. Like it would take 4 episodes to do that. But we could.
Bum, bum, bum.
All right.
All right, cool. All right.
Cool. Well, thank you, everybody, and see you next Friday. And see